Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today, shiur should be le'ilu nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gabriel Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov HaKohen, and B'schus l'refuah shalema b'karav Meshalem ben Sarachel, Miriam Basara, and Yair Yeshir ben Chaya Atara. Today, we are on page 293 in the Or Avigdor, for those who are following along. And today, we're going to finish up this chapter about talking about these different, the breakdown of the different, of how mitzvah works with the components and different stuff of it. And we spoke till now mostly about how we're not to apply Bitachon. We understand the first two parts is the free will, the choice, how that works. When it comes to worldly matters, we said that the first two parts you also have to have trust in Hashem, because you don't know what the right way and the wrong way is, but as opposed to mitzvahs and averos, Hashem clearly spelled out for you what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Today, we're going to talk about Bitachon when it comes to the final execution of doing a mitzvah. And there's going to be a lot of over here of Tehillim, what David HaMelech tells us, and how he breaks down the different parts of it. And you're going to see over here how that final piece, how it translates, as well as when you have trust, how David HaMelech says that also requires tefillah. At the end of the day, trust in carrying something out, trust in Hashem that you're going to get what you're looking for or get the right thing that you need when you're doing your shtadlus, also requires tefillah, and he's going to spell that out here today. But as to where it is proper to have bitachon in these matters, that is in the final execution of a mitzvah. After having first decided upon it with your full heart, resolving to begin doing it and attempting to carry out the decision with purity of heart. So you decided you want to do it, you planned to do it, and you went out. You started going to do the mitzvah. All with the undivided intent of serving Hashem. Again, something very important. We do a mitzvah not for the sake of the mitzvah. We do a mitzvah, as we spoke earlier. Why should you do certain things? We spoke about that in regards to a parent, a husband. He's looking for kavod. The reason he's nice to his kids because he wants his kids to take care of him when he gets older. So over here he points out that you're having the right intention. Your intention is to actually carry out a mitzvah. And for success in the final execution of the mitzvah, and it's our duty to lean on Hashem, to help us carry out the mitzvah, and to teach us to do it as we should. Rabbi Victor says, let's say a person decides to put on tefillin, right? You're going to put on tefillin, and so you put it on, and you think you completed that. But where the trust has to lie is, who says that the parshas inside the tefillin are kosher? Maybe the sefer made a mistake. Maybe they got ruined over time. So when you're going out there and you're doing a mitzvah, an example of the tefillin, you want to put on tefillin, you go, you daven shachas, you put on tefillin, but who says you really became the mitzvah? Because if it's possible tefillin, it's no good. So there he says, in certain cases like that, in other cases, you need to trust in Hashem that the outcome is what is favorable for you. And then that's when he goes into over here, says, as it's written, let me in your truth and teach me. And the person is making a tefillah over here. That's what he wants to talk about for a second. Asking Hashem not to let him make a mistake in carrying out the details of the mitzvah in a different way. It's not a tefillah to help you make the right decision. It's a tefillah to Hashem that once you make the right decision, that the decision actually happens, that the outcome, the task actually gets completed. And before we continue over here, he says, if you're about to do a mitzvah, you should never rely on yourself, even though it's just a matter of carrying out the mitzvah that you have already decided to perform. To succeed in doing a mitzvah correctly, a mitzvah you have to have Bitachon Hashem, which requires tefillah. All Bitachon requires prayer, tefillah, because if you don't ask for help, it shows that you don't really have real trust in Hashem. But when it comes to making the choice, it's not a matter of tefillah, it's just a matter of free will. But once it comes to the action part and carrying out, carrying out the Bitachon mitzvah that you want to do, or putting on the tefillin. That is where it requires Hashem, and that's where you should daven and ask Hashem to please help me complete the task that I set out to do. And he goes further over here to bring down Psukim and Tehillim. He says, "V'amar," it says in Tehillim, lead me in the path of your mitzvos. What he means by that is, Rabbi Vigdamil says, this means I have chosen to do a mitzvah, and I ask you, don't let me do the wrong kind of act thinking it's a mitzvah. What that means is, sometimes we think something, what we're doing is right. And very often, what happens is, it is correct, but how we go about that, we might hurt somebody else or something else. So you're asking Hashem to lead me in the right directions, that even the choice of method that I chose to do the mitzvah, that it comes out to be correct. And it says further, Derech Emunah B'charti, I have chosen the way of loyalty. Don't let me be deceived and wander off that path, he says. V'amar, and it says, Devakti B'desecha Hashem al tishivenu, I have clung to your mitzvahs, Hashem, do not put me to shame. David expresses in this pasuk that he has chosen to do the mitzvah, and he is taking all the necessary steps in order to complete that. And he asks Hashem to see to it that if something beyond his control comes into play, that Hashem prevents that from carrying out his mitzvah, that he wants that Hashem should help him with whatever obstacles come in the way, that Hashem should clear those obstacles from his path and make that happen. So he gives another example, Rabbi Miller. He says, say a person wants to get married, and he says, I want to marry a woman who's a very ehrlich woman, a pious woman, and so he could do his part to do his ashtadlus to look for someone that makes sense. But at the end of the day, if this woman is really truly a bas Torah, a woman who's really ehrlich, that's only going to be up to Hashem. And the same thing for the kala. The kala looks for a ben Torah, and she does her best to find that guy. But at the end of the day, whether or not he's really a ben Torah, that's not up to the kala. That's up to Hashem, who decides what's going to happen. And further in Tehillim it says, "V'al tatzel mipi devar emes ad mo'ay." Do not utterly remove the word of truth from my mouth, because I have put my hope in your commandments. He says, David HaMelech says over here, I want to speak the truth. And this is in regarding halacha. So someone comes to a dayan or somebody and asks an halacha, not even a dayan, even someone comes to you, your wife might come to you and ask you a question on Shabbos or whatever it is, and you give an answer. And so we're asking Hashem over here is, I did what I can to figure out what the answer is, but now I'm asking you, Hashem, that it actually be the correct answer, that I speak the truth. That means that I give the correct verdict on the halacha or whatever that is. And then David asks Hashem for two requests. His first request from Hashem, he asks for no distractions. And all this is proof that David's choice was was the act of avodah. But he still davened to Hashem for two things. And after deciding to do what was right, he had these two requests for Hashem. One of them was that Hashem should help him maintain his single-mindedness and strengthen his choice to do this avodah. Meaning, the world is filled with distractions. And so what David HaMelech was asking over here, and we're going to continue this tomorrow, but David HaMelech was asking in this first request, I'm going to choose to do the right thing. Right? We all want to do good. One of the hurdles we have is that we're involved in a world where there's other outside influence on our day-to-day. So even though we might want to do something, say, hey, I want to go out and do that Bitachon, and then your friend calls you 20 minutes later, he goes, oh, we're going to go to a party tonight. You want to come to the party? We're going to finish at 6 a.m. And now you're like, oh gosh, I really wanted to go to the city tomorrow, and I'm being distracted now. Or there's other things that come into play that push you around, that change your mindset. So I might say, really? That's what you're doing? That's the mitzvah? I have a better mitzvah, I have a different mitzvah. That's not even a mitzvah. So what David HaMelech is talking about over here in his first request, and we're going to continue this tomorrow, is really he's asking Hashem, I chose to do the right thing. Now what I'm asking of you, Hashem, is don't put other influences in my way that are going to cloud my judgment, that are going to make me question my decision to do the mitzvah or whatever act of kindness that I'm looking to do. And so it's really not as a help to carry it out, but it's an emotional or a mindset, is I want to have clear judgment. This is what I chose to do, and I want to do it. Make sure that there's nothing that comes in the middle that makes me question my initial decision or makes me doubt myself in any way. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today. And as always, I love you all.